efficiency of the... Oh. Must be going via satellite, I think. 10-second delay. And then when the Governor and the VIPs are in place, we'll remain standing for the vice-regal salute. And that will happen automatically, fingers crossed. Everyone having a good time? Congratulations also to the Clipper fleet. That was just so spectacular. It's really given the event an amazing international dimension, and to see so many of you finish in that breeze and that southerly breeze, and so many appreciative people from all over Australia, all over the world cheering you on, particularly going along the Taste of Tasmania. I was one of those, drinking and eating at that point, and that was fantastic. I was up on my stool saluting. It was just so good. It was a fantastic welcome. And we estimate when the line honours boats came in on that second night that there were about 30,000 people around the foreshores, and certainly many more lining the Derwent River. So it just was a spectacular scene, and I think most of us who have seen finishes of Sydney Hobarts haven't seen anything like this one. It's been very special, and especially with the line honours record being smashed, and some very fast sailing for everyone, but also very tough sailing in those fresh conditions. So very shortly I'll get the nod from Biddy Badanack, who's from the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania and been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure everything goes smoothly. We'll get the nod for the arrival of Her Excellency the Governor of Tasmania. I think you'll agree there are some incredible trophies to be handed out today, and two of the prized ones are the beautiful Yachtmaster, the Rolex timepieces for the line honours winner, and also the overall winner to be handed out by the General Manager of Rolex Australia, Patrick Boutellier, and I think we're ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please be upstanding now for the arrival of the Governor of Tasmania and also the vice-regal party. Her Excellency, the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner, AM, is accompanied by the Commodores of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, Commodore Matthew Johnson, and the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, John Marcos. And would you please remain standing as we also acknowledge the Honourable Will Hodgman, MHA, the Honourable Lord Mayor of Hobart, Alderman Sue Hickey, the General Manager of Rolex Australia, Patrick Boutellier, and the CEO of Tasports, Paul Whedon. Please stand by now for the vice-regal salute. And the vice-regal party and the Governor will now be seated, and then you may also be seated at that point. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a packed house, and with the arrival of the vice-regal party and such a boisterous crowd from the Clipper fleet, I think we should acknowledge them again. They're proud to be here. I think that sets the tone very nicely indeed, yes. But it's with great pleasure now that I call on the Commodore of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, Commodore Matthew Johnson, to officially welcome you all.
Thank you, Gordon. What a crowd. Your Excellency, the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner and Richard Warner, the Honorary Will Hodgman, Lord Mayor Sue Hickey, the General Manager of Rolex Australia, Mr Patrick Boitelia and Claudia, the CEO of Tasports, Paul Whedon and Genevieve, Commodore John Marcos and Beth, flag officers and members of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, flag officers and members of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, competitors, fellow sailors and guests. On behalf of the Royal Yacht Club, I have great pleasure in officially welcoming you here today at the Federation Concert Hall. It's the first time we've had a full house and have been putting people up to the second floor, so that is absolutely fantastic, and it confirms the move from the club a couple of years ago. It seems that I say this every year, but again we have witnessed an absolutely fantastic race that has taken many twists and turns along the way. From the start, up in Sydney Harbour on Boxing Day, where we saw over 100 boats line up for the start, including the Clipper fleet. The sleigh ride down the east coast to the challenges that the Derwent River continues to throw up, as it has done for the past 73 years. And finally, the race record holder and line honours winner being decided in a protest room. What a year. To Jim Cooney and his crew on board Comanche, including his 2 children, well done on a fantastic result. Not only winning the line honours trophy, but also smashing the record that was held by Perpetual Oil for only 12 months. And I know John Marcos has been saying this a bit in interviews, but a year ago we all said that Loyal's time would last for many years. Here we are a year later with a new record, nearly 4.5 hours quicker than the previous. It's hard to believe. Interestingly, with airline delays these days, it's probably quicker to sail or surf from Sydney to Hobart on a 100-foot maxi than conventional methods. Once again, we have many Tasmanian connections throughout the fleet, albeit we only had 2 official Tasmanian entries in Oscana and Magic Miles. Some of these Tasmanians of note include with Chris Harmson on board Wild Oats, his brother Peter on board Infotrack, Justin Kluwer and Tim Burnell on board Mount Kazoni Latina, Troy Grafton on board Celestial, Peter Fletcher on board Schutzbar, Mal Parker on board Wizard, our rear Commodore Steve McCullum on board Kiloa 2, Julian Freeman on board Concubine, David Morris, Louis and Elliot Noy on board Black Sheep, Fraser Reid and his brother Travis on board China Easy Way, and I'm sure there's many more that I've missed. To Matt Allen and his team on Ichiban, what a fantastic effort. Matt has been a massive contributor to the sport of sailing, both as a competitor and as a sports administrator. This is some just reward to him and his team for many years of competing. Matt has done 28 Hobarts himself and has campaigned his own yachts, all named Ichiban, since 2002. This has included many boats during his time, and his current 2-boat program can't be cheap. I'd hate to think how much. But the rewards are surely worth it. To all the divisional winners, I offer my sincere congratulations on a job well done. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of my RYCT past Commodore and Life member Biddy Badnack for his continued hard work to ensure the Hobart end works as seamlessly as it does. I'd also like to thank our army of hard-working volunteers in Hobart who continue to give up their time to make this all happen. The same must also be said to Tim Cox and his race committee for another job well done. As I said last year, we at the Royal Yacht Club are very proud to be a partner with the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia and Rolex in this magnificent yacht race, and we look forward to partnering and assisting in its continued success into the future and building up to an unforgettable 75th in a couple of years' time. For me, this is my last year serving as Commodore of the Royal Yacht Club, so I know that my Christmas and New Year period will be a lot different next year. There is no doubt that I will have some more time to catch up with family and friends over this period, or then again I might go sailing. Thank you.
And Commodore Johnson, by the way, is the great son-in-law of one of the race's most famous yachtsmen, Jock Muir, who was aboard Westward, which won the race in 1947 and 48. Now I would call on Her Excellency, the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner, AM, a wonderful supporter of our great race, to formally welcome you here today on this splendid occasion of the 73rd Rolex Sydney Hobart. The Governor of Tasmania, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for inviting Dick and me to the presentation of trophies for the 2017 Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. Can I just begin by paying my respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we stand, the Muwinina people, and to acknowledge their elders, past, present and emerging, and also to acknowledge the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the continuing custodians of the land. So this is the fourth year that I've attended this ceremony, and I have to say that it is a really great privilege, and it's fabulous to see so many people here at this ceremony. So, like so many others, Dick and I follow this race with great interest, always from the spectacular Boxing Day start to the end of the race here in Hobart. Of course, it's a race that's changed dramatically since that first cruise, which turned into a race between four yachts in 1945. So now, with the 72nd race in 2017, it has for some time now been internationally recognised as one of the three classic blue water ocean races. And yet, to some extent, I think it does remain an egalitarian event, at least in the sense that it does attract small yachts, as small as the 30-footers, as well as the large yachts, the 100-footers. So as usual, on Boxing Day, we watch the always spectacular start on television to see who'd be first out of the heads. This year it was Blackjack, but just behind her there was the manoeuvring between Comanche and Wild Oats 11 that caused Comanche to put up that little red protest flag. And so began a duel between these two yachts, with Comanche slightly in the lead on Tuesday evening. But again this year it was an incredibly fast race. Last year the record was broken by 3 boats, but this year, with a strong northeasterly behind the fleet until the leaders entered the Derwent, 5 yachts finished inside the record. And with the very light winds in the Derwent favouring Wild Oats 11, she crossed the line 26 minutes ahead of Comanche. And Dick and I were among the crowd on Castro Esplanade, peering into the gloom to watch the first 2 boats cross the line. I think it was great that it was at a time when people were still out and about. However, of course, the 1-hour penalty awarded by the international jury meant that the 2017 Rolex Sydney Hobart was Comanche's second line honours win rather than Wild Oats 11 9th. Then 8th across the line at 8:10 on Thursday morning was Matt Allen's brand new TP52 Ichiban, the first of the 50-footers, just ahead of Quest, putting Ichiban in an excellent position as the handicap winner. And I thought it was really great to see the camaraderie between these 2 boats as Quest berthed and the 2 crews cheered each other. So it was an incredibly fast, wet, exciting race for the leaders surfing down the waves. But I understand this doesn't mean that it was easy sailing, and that with such high speeds, safety can be a concern. Crews can be injured and gear can break, particularly spinnakers blowing out. And I read that Ichiban lost 2 spinnakers and was on to its third with nothing in reserve. Last year, I know that many of the competitors saw very little, if anything, of the stunning Tasmanian coastline on the way here because it was shrouded in sea mist. But this year, it must have been a beautiful run for those who had time to look. So Dick and I have had a wonderful time walking around the docks and being part of the welcoming crowd here in Hobart. And we were there to see Oscana, the first Tassie boat over the line, and we admired the beautiful Kealoha 2, the 1971 Line Honours winner, which arrived safely on Friday evening, despite breaking its boom in Bass Strait, and the elegant Dorade, built in 1929. And it was great to see so many international crews here this year, 22, I think, including the 11 Clipper 70s from Great Britain, all of which finished on Friday afternoon between 4:30 and 6. So I'm full of admiration for the courage and persistence of all the competitors and also for the sportsmanship displayed by the crews, particularly in the face of disappointments. So we both want to congratulate all the sailors who've stepped up to compete in the Rolex Sydney to Hobart yacht race, wherever they've finished. And congratulations to Comanche for taking line honours and for holding the new record. What a wonderful memory it will be for Jim Cooney and his crew, which, as we've heard, included his children, James and Julia, as trimmers. I understand that Julia has made history as the youngest female on a line honours winner. And also congratulations to handicap winner Ichiban, skippered by Matt Allen in his 28th Sydney to Hobart, who also claimed the record of the fastest conventionally ballasted yacht in history and the fastest yacht under 55 feet. This must have made up for being becalmed for so long in the Derwent last year. So to Rolex, sponsor of the race since 2002, I say thank you for your support for this event. The magnificent watches presented to the winners of the Rolex Sydney Hobart are a fitting and lasting memento of their achievements. And last but not least, I would like to thank all of the organisers, the volunteers and staff who've made this year's Rolex Sydney to Hobart yacht race such a success. It's an enormous undertaking and I congratulate you all on a job well done. Thank you again for inviting me to participate in this wonderful event.
It will now be an honour for the first round of major prize winners to be presented with their trophies by Her Excellency the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner. And the very first trophy, I think rather appropriately, is for the yacht travelling from the furthest port to compete. And this one's come even further than the Clipper yachts. And it's the Polish trophy and plaque. And this one was struck in honour of the Maxi Lodka Bowles from Poland, who in 2001 was greeted by the Polish community here in Hobart in their national costumes, and they even hijacked the prize-giving ceremony. They took over, and Rolex was so impressed that they started sponsoring the race the following year, in 2002. And fittingly, the Polish trophy and plaque goes to a yacht from Poland, the 24-metre Waddell, and accepting the skipper Afanasi Isaev. Yes, they have travelled pretty well right round the world to be here in Hobart, and what a thrill it is to be receiving the Polish trophy and plaque on behalf of what is a very large Polish and appreciative Polish community here in Hobart. Ladies and gentlemen, Afanasi Isaev from Poland. Hotel is a beautiful racer cruiser, 24 metres, and it's a very nice way to travel around the world. Congratulations. Now we go to the other end of the scale. The first yacht under 9.5 metres length on the water to cross the finishing line. This is the Plum Crazy Trophy, and it goes to an 85-year-old grand lady. We know her so well, Maluka Sean Langman. Sean sailing in his 27th Rolex Sydney Hobart. His son Peter was on Patrice, who did so spectacularly. And 4 days, 4 hours and 51 minutes. It was a very tough race for Maluka, but the smallest and the second oldest home in spectacular fashion. 85 years young, Sean Langman and Maluka. Congratulations, Sean. The next trophy is the Rani Trophy, named after the initial winner of the race in 1945. This is for the most meritorious performance as judged by the race committee. And the Commodore of the CYC, John Marcos, will have more to say about this a little later in the prize giving. But the winner for most meritorious performance, the Rani Trophy, goes to hotelplanner.com. And the skipper, all the way from Northern Ireland, Connell Morrison. He's getting a standing ovation, as he rightly should. There was a man overboard situation with the Invictus UK yacht, and hotelplanner.com, in the most amazing piece of seamanship, as John will tell you about later, was able to retrieve that person. Connell Morrison. And when those clipper yachts finished, as the Governor said, it was like watching the running of the bulls on water as they came across the line. But a wonderful achievement. First yacht out of Sydney Heads. And this is the Jack Brooklyn Memorial Trophy, also the Cannon, and for third over the line, the CYCA Trophy. And this goes to, from the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron, Blackjack, first out of the harbour. Skipper Peter Harburg is represented by one of his crew. And Blackjack, not favoured by the fresher conditions, one of the 4 Super Maxis who smashed last year's race record. But Blackjack in the first year of a 5-year campaign, and we're going to see a lot more of her. She was, of course, the Lion Honours winner as Alfa Romeo in 2009. Congratulations, Peter Harburg from Queensland. Second boat officially over the line, the CYCA Trophy, goes to Wild Oats 11, the Oatley family. As mentioned, Wild Oats smashed the race record, crossed the finishing line off Battery Point in 1 day, 8 hours and 48 minutes, 26.5 minutes ahead of LDV Comanche. But after that, infringement in the harbour was penalised 1 hour and relegated to second place over the line. But our very famous ocean racer, Wild Oats 11, the Oatley family. And the first yacht due south of Tasman Island, and also the Lion Honours winner. It's the F&J Livingston Trophy and replica, also the J.H. Illingworth Trophy and replica and cannon, and also the special Rolex Yachtmaster timepiece, the Oyster Perpetual. Would you please give a big Tasmanian welcome to LDV Comanche, Jim Cooney. And Jim is represented by his 20-year-old daughter, Julia. And it's been confirmed, as the Governor mentioned, the youngest ever crew member on a Lion Honours winner at 20 years of age. So Julia representing her father, Jim Cooney. Co-skipper Jimmy Spithill was the famous America's Cup winner. A time of 1 day, 9 hours, 15 minutes and 24 seconds, smashing Loyal's record by nearly 4 hours, and amazingly averaging just a tick under 19 knots. Now, if that was a motor vehicle, that would be exceeding the speed limit in a school zone. Incredible. What a ride that was for Comanche. And third Rolex Sydney Hobart for Julia Cooney. Patrick Boutillier, the General Manager of Rolex Australia, also presenting the Rolex Yachtmaster timepiece. Congratulations to LDV Comanche, and our special thanks, ladies and gentlemen, to Her Excellency the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner, for presenting those trophies. I'd now like to call on the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania Commodore Matthew Johnson for the next round of major trophy presentations. Firstly, the CYCA Trophy, third in the Clipper 70 division, and the winner is Garmin Gaitan Thomas. Outstanding skipper Gaitan Thomas from Belgium. A total of 219 crew from the Clipper yachts in this year's race, representing 26 nations. And amazingly, 40% of the crew members had never sailed before they entered the Clipper event. But after 4 weeks of intensive training, they're absolutely shooting the lights out. And the Clipper yachts are only halfway through their 40,000 nautical mile journey. So that means they've now had 280,000 tea bags so far. First female skipper, and she did it 2 years ago. She's done it again. The Jane Tate Memorial Trophy and half model, Sanya Serenity Coast, Wendy Tuck. Sanyo Serenity Coast also second in the Clipper 70 division, taking the CYCA Memorial Trophy. Wendy competing in her 11th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Sanya won the leg from Fremantle to Sydney, and a very popular winner indeed. Wendy Tuck from Sydney. And first in the Clipper 70 division, the CYCA Trophy, hotelplanner.com. Conal Morrison. Conal from a famous sporting family. His sister, Aileen Reid, is a triathlete with Great Britain, competing in the London and Rio Olympics. There's some good genes in that family from Northern Ireland. Well done, Conal Morrison and hotelplanner.com.
I don't think the cruising division winner's made it ashore yet. He's still coming up the river, but you could ask.
Now, first in the cruising division, and I might have to throw this out to an official because I'm not sure whether this boat is finished yet. It's the CYCA trophy. It's Charlie's Dream from the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron, Peter Lewis. So, Peter, if you've made it, please come forward. Another great result for Queensland. First in the cruising division, Charlie's Dream from the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron. And just to get a good feel for this year's race, Peter circumnavigated Tasmania earlier this year. Another accolade for the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron and Peter Lewis. First in the Corinthian division, this is the York Family Trophy and the CYCA Trophy, and the winner, Snowdome Occasional Course Language 2, Warwick Sherman. This boat is sponsored by Snowdome. Warwick has suffered 2 bouts of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, and the Rolex Sydney Hobart was part of his bucket list. And he won his division 5 years ago in the boat's inaugural race. He's an opal miner. I don't think he's been down too many opal mines, but I know he does own them. Occasional Course Language, Warwick Sherman. Sensational performance. And he had Ed Saltis on board, who was the co-skipper of the 1998 winner in that shocking race we had in those terrible conditions, and also Arthur Saltis. And they're both sons of Bill Saltis, a former CYC chairman, or Commodore. I'd now like to thank Matthew Johnson for presenting those trophies. Matthew, thank you very much. And with great pleasure, I call up Paul Whedon, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Tasports, the Tasmanian Ports Corporation, for the next round of prize winners. So thank you very much, Paul, and please give him a big round of applause. Tasports doing an amazing job in this beautiful port of Hobart. The first Tasmanian boat on IRC, the Tasports Trophy, and the winner is Oscana Michael Pritchard from the Derwent Sailing Squadron and the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania with his crew of 12. And boy oh boy did they have the ride of a lifetime. Oscana, the former Victoire, winner of the race for Darryl Hodgkinson back in 2013, now owned in Tasmania, and they made it across the line in just 2 days and 2 hours. I think that is definitely the fastest time ever by a Tasmanian yacht. Fantastic performance. And the amazing thing is, I think, you might correct me, Michael, but I think your head sail was up for only about half an hour in the whole race? Thumbs up? Yeah. Just a little bit in the harbour and then 10 minutes of coming around Tasman Island. The rest of the time, it was all under spinnaker. The navigator of the first Tasmanian yacht on corrected time, the City of Hobart Trophy and plaque. So Oscana's navigator, and I believe in his first Rolex Sydney Hobart, Jason Wilkie. So Jason obviously has a big future. What a debut and what a performance to get that flying boat home in just 2 days and 2 hours, the former Victoire. Well done, Jason Wilkie. Oscana. Part of the 12-man crew. Third in the PHS Division 2, the CYCA Trophy, from the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club in Sydney, Takani James Whittle. Takani is named after James's children, Taylor, Casey and Nicholas, and Bill Ratcliffe was the navigator in his 49th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Congratulations to James Whittle in his 4th Rolex Sydney Hobart. His daughter Katrina was also on board. 3rd in PHS Division 2. 3rd in the Corinthian Division, the CYCA Trophy. She's the culprit syndicate. Glenn Bulmer, Glenn Picasso and David O'Dowd from the Newcastle Cruising Yacht Club and the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club. Newcastle and Lake Macquarie have a wonderful history with the Rolex Sydney Hobart. I think the first winners from Lake Macquarie might have been Piccolo, Jack Pickles, back in the mid-70s. They also took 2nd in the PHS Division 2, winning the CYCA Trophy. Well done to the culprit syndicate, Glenn Bulmer, Glenn Picasso and David O'Dowd. 1st in PHS Division 2, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to a boat from the Middle Harbour Yacht Club in Sydney, Flying Fish Arctos. Flying Fish Online, and I understand that all of the crew members are graduates of the Flying Fish Sailing School. Middle Harbour Yacht Club does it, 1st PHS Division 2. Congratulations to Flying Fish Online. Third in PHS Division 1, the CYCA Trophy, and the winner from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, the X50 Wax Lyrical, Les Goodridge. A lot of experience with Les in his 9th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Dina Eagle completing her 10th, and Brett Smith his 20th Rolex Sydney Hobart. So 3rd in PHS Division 1, the CYCA Trophy for Wax Lyrical from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. 2nd in PHS Division 1, the CYCA Trophy from the Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron in his 11th Rolex Sydney Hobart, skipper James Murchison in Abracadabra. Abracadabra in 2015 had the overall PHS victory as well. And I think, is it Mike Formosa, the navigator? Has completed 24 Sydney Hobarts. I think this might be 25 next year. So there's some experience there on Abracadabra. 1st in PHS Division 1, the Ranza Trophy and the CYCA Trophy, representing the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, Helsel 3, the Helsel 3 Syndicate. 1st in PHS Division 1, Tasmania flying its flag very proudly. The lovely Adams 20, launched in 1984 for the Fisher family. And the Fishers, of course, was at the floating footpath back in the early 70s, successful with Lion Honours. Well done, Helsel 3. 1st in ORCI Division 4, the CYCA Trophy. And the winner is Mr. Lucky Mark Hipgrave from the Solo Offshore Racing Club in the United Kingdom. Mr. Lucky and Mark Hipgrave. Mark competed very successfully last year in the round Fastnet Rock Race. Winners of Division 4, first in ORCI, and winning the CYCA trophy, all the way from the United Kingdom. Well done, Mark Hipgrave. Third in ORCI Division 3, the CYCA trophy, and second in the Corinthian division behind Snowdome Occasional Course Language, winning the CYCA trophy, is Eve. The Swan 65, designed by Sparkman and Stevens, launched in 1981, one of the veteran yachts in the fleet, and it's Steve Capel from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. Steve in his 6th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Just a beautiful boat, and Eve, stunning performance there to take second in Corinthian and third in Division 3 ORCI. Well done to Eve. Now 36 years of age. Second in ORCI Division 3, the CYCA trophy, and from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, Black Sheep, Derek and Martin Shepherd. Black Sheep from the very successful Beneteau stable. Beneteau yachts always so competitive in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, and Black Sheep, a Beneteau 45 for Derek and Martin Shepherd. Second ORCI Division 3, winners of the CYCA trophy. Well done. And first in ORCI Division 3, the Tasports Trophy, and the winner, the Sydney 38 Calibre, Richard Williams. Tasports Trophy then to Calibre, Richard Williams. Well done. First ORCI Division 3. And please thank Paul Wheaton, the Chief Executive Officer of Tasports, for handing out those trophies. Well, there's no greater supporter of the race here in Tasmania than your Premier, the Honourable Will Hodgman, MHA. He's now going to say a few words and also present the next round of trophies. Would you please welcome the Premier of Tasmania, the Honourable Will Hodgman.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, Professor the Honourable Kate Warner AM, Governor of Tasmania, the beautiful island state we are fortunate to call home, to Alderman Sue Hickey, Lord Mayor of the most picturesque harbour city in the world, to Mr Paul Wheaton, the CEO of Tasports, who is one of those who helps look after it, to the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, Mr John Marcos, and Commodore Matthew Johnson from the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, by far and away two of our finest yacht clubs, to Mr Patrick Boutillier, from the makers of the world's best watches, the highly valued sponsor of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race, and to the sailors and the support teams of the 2017 fleet who competed in what is, without doubt, the greatest blue water race in the world. It's a race that once again has defied all expectations on so many levels. It's added another fascinating chapter this year to the story that we're so proud to have its conclusion here, and this race has indeed for it some time secured iconic status in this great sport, but it's the remarkable characters that truly make it. The ghosts of races past, the dedicated officers and volunteers of the CYCA and the RYCT, whose revering helmsmanship of this great race, its traditions and, dare I say it, its rules, is palpable. To each and every one of the courageous, colourful characters that depart on Boxing Day, facing an uncertain and unpredictable voyage, that so many millions of lucky spectators like myself are able to enjoy as one of our annual customs that helps define our nation and makes this time of the year so much more special. And a Christmas story that is so delightfully described by Mr. Gordon Bray, who, like no other, brings a knowledge and a passion of this race that engages those less familiar with an event that we all intrinsically feel very much a part of. Can I say on behalf of all Tasmanians, thank you all, each and every one of you, for making 2017 yet another remarkable Rolex Sydney Hobart. And I can say that we would dearly love to see you all back here again next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Premier. And now we have a very special presentation for the 25 race medallions. And first up, we have David Blanchfield. David sailed his first race aboard Thirlmere in 1985 with the great Roger Hickman, and then sailed 3 races with Bob Oatley aboard his 43-footer Wild Oats and various other yachts before joining Sid Fisher aboard Ragamuffin for a handicap win in 1992. David Blanchfield sailed with Sid for another 5 years before joining Jeff Ross aboard a series of Yendis for another 8 races. A professional sailor, David has become a maxi boat expert sailor aboard Giacomo, Perpetual Loyal, Maserati, and this year aboard Infotrack for his 30th race. He actually sailed his 25th race aboard Ragamuffin Loyal back in 2012. So, David Blanchfield, the first of our 25 race medallion winners. Next, Ian Davis, after doing his first 2 races in 1977 and 78 aboard Loana 2, Ian joined the famous Lou Abrahams aboard Challenge for his next 8 races, winning on handicap in 1983 aboard Challenge 2 and again in 89 aboard Ultimate Challenge. Having moved to Queensland, Ian Davis sailed with local yachts Bobsled and Hammer and sailed in his 25th race in 2015 on board Mayfair, which he sailed, of course, again this year. Congratulations, Ian Davis. Next, James Permazel. Well, typical of the dedicated and loyal crew aboard Bruce Taylor's Chutzpah, James has completed 27 of his 30 races with Bruce, actually sailing his 25th race in 2012. James did his first race in 1985 aboard Pacific Flyer and another 2 aboard Padam in 87 and 88 before joining Chutzpah in 1989 and has missed only 1 race since. James's medallion will be accepted by Kingsley Peace, but a fantastic performance by James Permazel on Chutzpah. And that is an amazing performance with Chutzpah. I think I'm correct in saying that she finished in 2 days and 4 hours, and so that time is faster than 3 of Wild Oats 11's line honours performances. So incredible performance by Chutzpah, so beautifully sailed. And a lot of people were cheering for Bruce Taylor in his 37th Rolex Sydney Hobart. He's been so close so many times, but it wasn't to be, but we know he will be back again next year. And finally, of the 25 Race Medallion Club, Jeremy Ray, and this will be accepted by Matt Allen, the President of Australian Sailing and winner of this year's race. Jeremy sailing his 25th race aboard Matt Allen's Ichiban, his 8th consecutive race with the winning skipper. He's missed only 1 race in 25 years. He commenced his Hobart races in 1992 aboard Grant Warrington's Ronstand Wild Thing, followed by 3 races with Alf Neat on Morning Mist 3 before rejoining the Wild Thing team for the next 12 races. And Jeremy Ray's medallion accepted by the President of Australian Sailing, Matt Allen, and Jeremy, of course, a member of the Ichiban crew. Well, if you take a deep breath when you mention 25 Rolex Sydney Hobarts, what about doubling it? 50. The 50 Race Club, and only Tony Cable has done more at 51, but he's been joined at the half century this year by Tony Ellis, sailing aboard Triton. His 50th race, becomes only the second sailor to do so. He commenced in 1963 aboard Arthur Burns' beautiful Salacia. Tony joined Sid Fisher aboard the original Ragamuffin in 1968 and sailed with him for the next 45 years. Just amazing, winning line honours in 1988 and 90 and a handicap win in 1992. A past America's Cup crewman and winner of the Rolex Fastnet race, Tony is one of our great seamen and a very valued crew member. Tony Ellis! And Triton having a fantastic race and really taking advantage of that southerly once they rounded Tasman and got into Storm Bay and the Derwent. And it was a bit of a wild ride from there, but they took out quite a few of the TP52s and they had a great battle with Koa in the river. But an amazing effort there by Tony Ellis aboard Triton, getting his 50th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Now we go to the winner of third place in ORCI Division 4, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to China Easy Way, Travis Reed and Tim Wilson. China Easy Way from the Port Hacking Open Sailing Club. Travis completing his 8th Rolex Sydney Hobart. They also took third place in IRC Division 4. So double trophies there for China Easy Way, the Port Hacking Open Sailing Club, Travis Reed and Tim Wilson. And a very happy Chinese crewman and sponsor of China Easy Way. Second ORCI Division 4, the CYCA Trophy, and this is a very special result for the owners. So second in ORCI Division 4, second in IRC Division 4, CYCA Trophy for both. They come all the way from the United States of America. The skipper of Dorade, the oldest boat in the race, launched in 1930, Dorade, Matt Brooks, and Pam Rourke-Levy. Matt is actually an avid mountain climber. He scaled some of the world's biggest mountains. And Pam Rourke-Levy, they purchased the boat in 2010. It is the most famous ocean racing yacht in the world, a two-time winner of the Fastnet race in the 30s, a winner of the Transpac race, a winner of the Transatlantic, and they're retracing all of those great races as the new owners, and it is an absolute showpiece. You must get down to see the beautiful timber yawl, the 51-footer Dorade, Pam Rourke-Levy, and also Matt Brooks from the United States of America. And it was just wonderful to see them finish with Kealoha, who lost their boom, and finishing just behind all of those clipper boats. So it was a sensational performance. The first small boat across the line. This is the Battery Point Trophy and half model. Also first IRC Division 4, the Sir Arthur Warner Trophy and replica, and also the CYC Trophy. And it goes to one of our international visitors. A very popular result here for the first small boat across the line, first IRC Division 4, Banque de Nouvelle-Calédonie, Michel Quentin. And would the crew members please be upstanding so we can acknowledge you. From New Caledonia, Banque de Nouvelle, Michel Quentin. We had 27 international entries this year. Heading the list was the United States, but just wonderful to see New Caledonia here and all of their crew members here competing in our great race. Well done, Michelle. Third in IRC Division 3 then, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to Tony Levette, TSA Management. A Sydney 38 from the Middle Harbour Yacht Club, and Tony sailing in his 14th Rolex Sydney Hobart. He had a very famous sailor on board in Andrew Buckland, former 18-foot world champion, and that's a fabulous result for Tony Levette. Third in IRC Division 3, TSA Management. Second in IRC Division 3, the CYCA Trophy goes to James Irvine and Mayfair. A Beneteau First 40 from the Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron. James sailing in his second race from Sydney to Hobart, and it's the former Take Flight. He put together a very experienced crew, some colourful locals, and the Beneteau First 40 has been performing extremely well in 2017, but topped off so beautifully here with the third IRC Division 3. Well done to James Irvine in Mayfair, who was second in IRC Division 3. And first in IRC Division 3, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to Ariel, Ron Forster and Phil Damp. The RORC Trophy and replica and the CYC Trophy to Ariel. Ariel, another Beneteau First 40 from the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. Ron Forster in his 6th Rolex Sydney Hobart. And also Phil Damp in his 5th Hobart race. Congratulations, guys. Thank you then again to the Premier for presenting all of those trophies, and particularly the 25-year medallion trophies and the 50-year medallion trophies. And again, Premier, thank you so much for your great support of the race and the wonderful job you're doing here with the island state. I'd now like to call on Alderman Sue Hickey, who is the Lord Mayor of Hobart, and also she's been supporting this race brilliantly since she's been in that elevated position as Lord Mayor, and she will be presenting the next round of trophies, but first she wants to give you a Hobart welcome. Alderman Sue Hickey, the Lord Mayor.
Your Excellency, Premier, distinguished guests, yachties, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just tell you how impressive it is to look out here and see you all in your colours? And I think the energy in this room, being in a room full of happy people, is just amazing. If we could bottle all this energy, I think we could run the city for a week. It'd be brilliant. So on behalf of the City of Hobart, I extend to you all a warm welcome on this prize-giving evening. I've got to say, I can't believe the amount of trouble some of our international guests have gone to just to get to Hobart, but I am impressed, and I hope you'll come back regularly. The City of Hobart is very pleased to be involved in the finish of the 73rd iconic Rolex Sydney to Hobart yacht race. The City of Hobart provides support for this event, which includes baggage collection area at the back of the City Hall, the provision of Mawson's Pavilion, computers and the erection of flags and trophies, and we have been busy cleaning up the city to make sure it sparkled to welcome you. We have also put on the taste to provide you with something interesting to go to and to enjoy the beautiful Tasmanian produce. Tonight is going to be a great night for the city. It's a great night for you guys who've really earned a night off, and you can party and wake up tomorrow morning to a new year in the most beautiful city in the world. The City of Hobart looks forward to its ongoing contribution of this iconic event. I congratulate the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, the absolutely super impressive sponsor Rolex, on another successful race. And I also congratulate all of the prize winners, and I look forward to seeing you all returning again next year. Thank you.
And the Lord Mayor will now present the next round of prize winners. And third in IRC Division 2, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to Chutzpah, Bruce Taylor and Kingsley Peace to accept. This wonderful boat that has just been a stunning performer, and with so many near misses and minor placings in the Rolex Sydney Hobart, and again really challenging in this year's race. Bruce Taylor with Kingsley Peace, one of his key men in the crew of Chutzpah, third in IRC Division 2. First in ORCI Division 2, the Tasports Trophy, and it goes to smuggler Sebastian Bohm. From the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, Sebastian Bohm in his 5th Rolex Sydney Hobart. Very experienced crew. First in ORCI Division 2, second in IRC Division 2, smuggler Sebastian Bohm. Third in ORCI Division 2 and third in IRC Division 1, the CYCA trophies going to Jason Ward and Concubine. Is a member of the Concubine crew here with us? It doesn't appear so, but we'll make sure those trophies make their way to their ultimate destination. Third in IRC, Division O, CYCA trophy, and it goes to another international entry. The very fast, the very beautiful Beau Jest and Carl Kwok. An absolute flyer, Beau Jest. Stunning performer in this year's race. And I'm absolutely certain that Beau Jest also beat the race record of Perpetual Loyal last year. I think I'm correct in saying that, along with the 4 Super Maxis. So Beau Jest, Carl Kwok from Hong Kong. Third in ORCI Division 1, the CYCA trophy, and it's another one of the international entries. Mascalzoni Latino 32 from Italy, Vincenzo Onorato. One of the amazing 50-footers. They call them skiffs on steroids, and boy, are they cutting edge. They are the Formula One, and that's a fabulous result for the Italians. Vincenzo Onorato, Mascalzoni Latino 32, gets the CYCA trophy for third in ORCI Division 1 and second in IRC Division O. And first in that division, IRC, the Rush Cutter Trophy and replica, the CYCA Trophy, and it goes to David and Peter Askew in Wizards. Well, the two brothers successful in Wizard, which of course was the race winner in 2016 as Giacomo for Jim Delegate from New Zealand. New Zealand's first win, I think, in 40 years. But David and Peter Askew turning in a stunning performance in Wizard. Give them a big hand. And please thank the Lord Mayor, Alderman Sue Hickey, for her speech and presentation. Well, I think the most memorable sight around the docks that I saw was the CYC Commodore John Marcos jumping on board the Chinese boat when it came in, and he must have had about 40 photographs taken, and he was offered about 35 beers, and somehow he got off the boat. But please welcome the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, John Marcos.
Gordon, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, Premier, Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, it's a great pleasure to be here before you on the conclusion of such a fantastic race. The details given to you by previous speakers I don't need to repeat, but I'd like to cover some things especially in some detail. 102 quality entries, 5 retirements and 27 international boats, but there are many other people representing different countries, and I think on the back of an envelope we can count almost 30. The 27 internationals finished, of course, and that represents a third of the finishing fleet, which I think is by far the largest contingent of international boats that have completed the race in one race. It's lovely to see established crews return with boats we've seen before, but none other than Kealoha and Dorade, I think, are very special in the hearts of many, but to see them outstandingly race in this race again, I just congratulate the owners and I thank you very much for attending and joining us in the race. The other things I would like to acknowledge include the completion of the race by the smaller boats in the fleet, even though some of them would have experienced winds in excess of 40 knots. Quite something having regard for the earlier part of the week when the fleet met different winds. The Army boat finished at about 1:30 this afternoon. I'm not sure if they made it in here, but they certainly got great acclaim on the dock.
They are here. Stand up, please. Stand up.
Oh, there you are.
Well done to the Army.
In equal smallest boat, I take my hat off to you, Reece and Candice. A wonderful effort. And I'm sorry I couldn't meet you at the dock. I was just over here a short while ago. But dare I say it, one of the people, or the groups of people I'd like to thank are the Royal Australian Navy for their support of this race. I have thrown the challenge out there with your help, Reece, that we hope to see the Navy enter a boat to compete with you on your return. I can see a representative here, and I hope you pass that back to the Admirals for me. The Tasmanians, I do want to congratulate Premier and Your Excellency. Just the warm welcome that everyone gives to the people who attend, and actually the parade past the Taste of Tasmania is just part of it. But those of you who were present at the finish of the race, and I know many of you were racing of course, but when the Lion Honours contenders did finish, they were greeted, as I was told last night, by best count somewhere between 25,000 and 30,000 people. It's a tremendous effort for those people to join us in these sorts of quarters, but shows you how much affection that this race is held in high regard by those from Tasmania. And as much as they applaud you sailors, would you please join me now in applauding those Hobartians, as they're called. We've seen some big contingents from countries farther afield. We've already talked about those who've come. I do want to make a special thanks to Joe Mealy from his last year effort, having been an unofficial ambassador, to bring such a large contingent from the US. I'm glad from all reports you fellows and girls have enjoyed the race so enormously, but I look forward to seeing you back. Even if it takes a special trophy, we'll get something going. The competitors might be forgiven for, the viewers and the spectators might be forgiven for thinking this is an easy race. I think just the fact that so many have finished but so quickly, people actually forget the real pressure on a crew to actually maximise performance and contest these winds and seas to get to this point. I know it wasn't easy for a lot of you, but still yet it's a great credit that we got through so quickly, and from all accounts it was a great deal of fun. The uneasy conditions did not only break bits of boats and hurt people. I know that there weren't any serious injuries to date, although we do know Freya is yet to come through and did have to take a station at a pause last night. So we should expect to see Freya in sometime tomorrow. Thank you. So it's not all hard work in pursuit of the Holy Grail called the Tattersall Trophy. I do know there's a lot of hijinks, and I've heard some wonderfully funny things, and I did make mention of one of them last night. Premier, you will know that many years ago people did think that you needed a passport to get here, but I actually do want to acknowledge one crew had convinced their German counterpart on the crew with them that he did need his passport to get here. And the poor chap was very much herded towards the gate and the gantry to be asking people, where is the immigration office? You might be pleased, Mr. Premier, to hear that he was directed to Customs House. It's a great pleasure to see again the Clipper fleet. I do want to acknowledge them. The colour they bring to the races is special, as you can see it here, but they're wonderful people. I hear of their adventures along the docks, and it's a great pleasure to listen to the passion that they share with everybody else that's in the sailing world. I do want to especially congratulate and acknowledge Sir Robin. I think you're here somewhere. I just did see you a little while ago. Sir Robin? Over there. Sir Robin Knox-Johnson, one of the legends in this creative sport of sailing. Sir Robin's behind the Clipper fleet, very much a stamp of his prowess and knowledge, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But I do want to acknowledge not only the older sailors of this generation that we have here. It's a bit like a good red wine. It improves with age, and something I look forward to improving my own sailing skills as I get older. But Tony Ellis, Bill Radcliffe, wonderful effort to get to this sort of iteration of 50 and then 49 races. Interesting, and when you talk to people, there are many stories. What I would like to challenge each of you that have these stories, I'm going to ask our media team to set up an email address to hear from you, and you should send them in, because some of these stories are just wonderful, some of them are very humorous, some of them just outstanding in terms of your efforts and journeys. I'd invite you to send your emails through, and somehow we'd like to create a journal to record these things for posterity, but it's important to do that. One of the things I want to recognise is Sharon, and Sharon Bartle sailed her first race ever in this race, and whilst that's a good mark to have in your suite of things to brag, she's previously a social sailor, and at 55 years has started her campaign for getting a number of these races under her belt. So I congratulate Sharon and her crew in getting here. So I mentioned a moment ago the Clipper fleet and Sir Robin in particular. And Sir Robin, I'd like to not only congratulate you, but ask you to pass on the congratulations to Will and the admin team, Mark. The fleet is obviously something that does stay together and work very well together. They're trained enormously well. Now, an example of that is what we gave an award for a short while ago to Connell and the team. Now, in relation to Hotel Planner and Connell's team, the reason behind this, and whilst you might think it's simply a recovery of a man overboard, it's the excellence with which they executed this recovery. I'd just like to highlight a few points, if you allow me first. So, Connell's a very unassuming person in the short time I've had to meet him, but I do want to highlight the execution of this, just to give you an indication of the textbook recovery. They were notified of the man overboard through the race committee. In the shortest possible time they got there, which was still some time, but I don't have the exact detail handy. Connell's a very hard man to drag information out of. But they recovered the person once sighted within 15 minutes of first attempt. That's not bad in a bit of seaway. They deployed and lowered a sailor over the side in an immersion suit on a halyard. That person was carrying another halyard with a clip, and they actually managed to capture the person overboard and retrieve him. So both sailors were then pulled up and retrieved over the halyards. They then checked this person out for injury. I think he had a cup of tea while this was going on. And then they managed to do something I've not really witnessed in my lifetime of reading about sailing. They had an inflatable boat, put that person back on a boat, deployed that boat behind their own vessel to enable the vessel from where he came from to retrieve him with a minimum of effort. Congratulations on an excellent mark of seamanship, Connell, and the Hotel Planner team. And so we often read about the impetus for competing in this race. You know, people have these as a bucket list item. They have often recorded people saying, I'm never going to do this again, only to find they do it the next year. So I invite you, if this is your first, to make sure that it's not your last. You can come back. We'd love to see you in the race. But importantly, this race doesn't happen without the support of a great many organisations. And it's become quite an iconic race, and I want to draw your attention to two things. Whilst it's well known internationally, it actually has for the first time drawn in a branding of national significance, and I actually was pleased to mention to an assembly last night that the National Mint has endorsed this as a nationally significant event and will be minting a coin for us to celebrate the 75th year in 2019. Thank you. The CYCA enjoys an enormous amount of support from a number of organisations, but none the least is Rolex. In its 16th year of associating themselves with our race, Patrick, I do want to thank you. Would you please pass on our thanks to Geneva? But I also want to acknowledge and support and thank Claudia Boutelia, both of these people giving up their Christmases to be with us over the last 7 years. I know, and I will make another remark in relation to volunteers in that context, but please join me in thanking Rolex. We have wonderful support from the governments, not only of New South Wales but Tasmania. New South Wales provides enormous support through the RMS and the police there and other agencies in addition to that. We have wonderful support from Tasmania, especially Premier Will. I do want to acknowledge the support in my time in organising this race. You've been tremendously supportive and met with us on a number of occasions. I want to give you a great deal of thanks, and you, as well as your ministers, including Elise. Thank you very much. Your Excellency and Richard, it's been a pleasure in any dealing with you. You're wonderfully supportive of the race. I did remark to Her Excellency that as we watched over the last 4 years, her knowledge of sailing has increased, so there's no need to add to anything she said in terms of the comprehensive coverage and rundown. I thank you very dearly, and I look forward to your participation with this race more and more. The Task Ports Police, wonderful in their support and probably more invisible, but they're always as sentinels and looking after us. The Lord Mayor represents the Council and has already detailed their support for us, and I thank the Council very much, Lord Mayor, if you pass that on for us. There are numerous volunteers from both cities and farther afield that we will acknowledge, but they've been acknowledged before here, and I do want to acknowledge the partners of volunteers. It became obvious to me last night in speaking to some of the volunteers that have been engaged in this event for quite a while, how much they dedicate to this event, and not so much at the removal of themselves from families, but their families support them in doing this, and I think it's a great contribution all around, not only by the volunteers but their families. Please thank the volunteers for me. I've been wonderfully supported by the CYCA board and the members of the club in Sydney. They've worked very hard for this iteration of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race as it develops and lifts the branding as we have in both villages. Our CEO Karen does a wonderful job. She is supported well by the management team. I want to just mention two of them. Our sailing manager Justine is in her 17th year of involvement in the race, and I think she does an absolute cracker job. Well done, Justine. Of course, we have on the sailing side of things the support of the race committee, and we've acknowledged Tim recently, but Tim Cox, the race director, is in his 16th year of supporting this race, and I'd like you to thank Tim and the race committee. There are more people involved from CYCA, including Michael Newman, our operations manager responsible for villages. We've got a tremendous communications team. I want to acknowledge Di Pearson, Jim Gale, Bruce Montgomery, all helping our manager Ross McDonald, and also the very effective Nicole Brown. We have others from the CYCA involved in this alongside people from Tasmania or RYCT. Many of you will have spoken to them over the airwaves during the course of the race on the radio relay vessel led by David Kellett and the captain Andrew Copley. I'd like to thank them along with the Young Endeavour team for their support on water during the currency of the race. Thanks, David, and thanks to Young Endeavour. It's been a very effective partnership with our finishing partner, the RYCT, over the years. Nonetheless, of course, for their support, and current support is absolutely wonderful. Matt, I thank you very much for your support in your role as Commodore, but obviously previously in your support for this event and everything that had to be done. Daryl, I very much thank you very much, Daryl, for your support, General Manager of RYCT. And along with Daryl Potter and the team, Biddy Badnack has been involved in this race for a long time. A number of people who are involved in the marshalling of the boats at the finish, the escorts, the berthing, and the people in the information centre, all great people, and their partners and family. I'd just like to thank you. But I also want to signal one person involved, and I've just learned, not effectively how many years, but Mick Hocking is the man who's been berthing most of your boats with his team. Mick's been involved with the race. He says more than 20 years. His wife says more than 25 years, and I think it's even more. Please help me acknowledge Mick and his support of the race. So, what do you say about this year? There's one boat with an appropriate name, occasional course language. I was told by one of its crew last night it'll be renamed next year to frequent course language. Although if it gets heavier, it might just be language. It's been an enormous privilege to be involved with this race over the last few years, and especially in the last 2 years at the Commodore. I've had enormous support, courtesy from a number of people. I do want to thank you, and I will remain available to support the race in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commodore Marcos. So the final major prizes for the 73rd Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. And next is the first Armed Services Yacht. It's the Ogden Cup and Plaque. And it goes to Invictus Games 2018. Game on, Clipper Ventures. And there are a lot of wounded and injured services people on board and some disabled people on board as part of Clipper Ventures and the Invictus Games 2018 Game On, the first Armed Services Yacht. And Sir Robin Knox-Johnson at 78 years of age. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his age, but skippered the Invictus yacht home, but importantly, Wendy Tuck on Sanyar just managed to beat him home, and that was her goal. So well done, Wendy. I wonder if Sir Robin was being a gracious gentleman to make sure Wendy snuck home. But congratulations there to Invictus Games. And ladies and gentlemen, the Invictus Games are being held in Sydney. Prince Harry is the patron of the Invictus Games, and they're being held in Sydney next October. So that's another good excuse to come to Sydney in New South Wales, all of you overseas visitors. It's going to be a very special time. Second in ORCI, Division 2, the CYCA Trophy, and first in IRC Division 2, winner of the Peter Alsop Memorial Trophy and Replica, and the CYCA Trophy, and third in IRC overall. A stunning performance, winning the RYCT Trophy and Replica, and the Storm Bay Cup and Replica. And the winner of all those trophies, his father was a great sailor and supporter of the Rolex Sydney Hobart. It's Patrice Tony Kirby. Patrice didn't have the big bucks to spend to take on those TP52s, those state-of-the-art 52s, but they really got this boat into magnificent condition with basically an amateur crew, and they were nipping at the heels of the TP52s and the 50-footers, and that is a magnificent performance for Tony Kirby, third in IRC overall, first in IRC Division 2, and second in ORCI Division 2. A director of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and the Kirby family standing tall after that great performance. Now we go to first in ORCI Division 1, the Charleston Trophy, second in IRC Division 1, the CYCA Trophy. We're going to need a wheelbarrow for all of these. Second in the IRC overall, it's the City of Hobart Trophy and Replica, the Bass Strait Cup and Replica, the Solo Trophy and Replica, and the CYCA Trophy. A special table here for a man who's won the race on 2 occasions. Bob Steele in Quest. Sailing Master Michael Green and Bob Steele, and of course Quest is the former Balance, or it is Balance, but it was renamed Quest for this year's race. Bob Steele and Paul Clitheroe are the co-owners, but 2 Rolex Sydney Hobart victories. He's got 2 of the Yachtmaster timepieces, Bob Steele, and he's got a wonderful sailing master there in Michael Green, one of the legends of the race, as was his dad, the late Peter Green. And I know when they go around Tasman, they always have a little rum and coke to celebrate Peter. I don't know whether they had a chance this year. Maybe it's not a rum and coke, but the thought was there. Congratulations to Quest. Now the designer of the winning yacht. It's the Alan Payne Memorial Trophy and Replica, and it goes to Marcelino Boughton. And we'll get Matt Allen to accept on behalf of the designer, Marcelino Boughton, designer of the winning yacht, the Alan Payne Memorial Trophy and Replica. The Boughton 52, and the navigator of the winning yacht, the Bill Owen Memorial Trophy and Replica, and this man has competed in 5 around the world races. He's one of our most famous navigators. Please give a big welcome to Will Oxley. And Will's not here, so Matt can wear his shoes. But a stunning call by Will Oxley and the Brains Trust on Ichiban, going further seaward and getting a beautiful line into Tasman to just sneak ahead of their arch rival Quest. Well, as has been mentioned by the Commodore, Rolex have been a sponsor of our great race now for the 16th year, and we're thrilled to have the General Manager of Rolex Australia, who's a wonderful supporter. He was actually touring around Hobart and surrounds on one of the race sponsors' sports bikes, BMW, with his lovely wife, Claudia. Would you please give a big welcome now to Patrick Boutellier.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure and honour to be standing here at this year's Rolex Sydney Hobart again. As you may know, and some do know I'm sure, I haven't been here last year and I have missed this race, and now I know why I have missed it. I would like to thank everybody involved in this fantastic race. This race wouldn't be what it is today without you, without the crews, without the members of the two clubs, without the government's support. And we at Rolex, we are very, very thankful of all that. The Rolex Sydney Hobart is definitely the jewel in the crown of our events. As you know, we are involved in various events around the world, as well here in Australia. And it's always a great honor and privilege to stand here. As you know, Rolex doesn't only tell time, Rolex does as well tell history, and I'm sure you agree with me that this race has definitely written history. We will be back again at the CYCA, on the 26th on Boxing Day, and I already look forward to see you all there. I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic race next year. But before that, I would like to wish everybody a healthy and happy 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick, and I'll now get you to present the major trophies here to the boat that has just been so outstanding and been so dominant. And I said we'd need a wheelbarrow for Bob Steele, but I think we're going to need a BMW X1 for all of these trophies that are coming out now. It's a second ORCI Division 1, the CYCA trophy. First in IRC Division 1, the George Barton Trophy and replica. First in IRC Division 1, the CYCA trophy. The first yacht under 18.5 metres, the Apollo Trophy and half model. The first yacht under 18.5 metres to cross the finishing line. And importantly, and most importantly and significantly, the first IRC overall, the Tattersalls Cup replica, the CYCA trophy, the RORC plaque and replica, the Government of Tasmania trophy and replica. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2017 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, Ichiban, skippered by Matt Allen. And great to see some of the crew members here. Tim Sellers was the project manager for Ichiban, which was built north of Valencia, the hull north of Valencia in Spain. He was stationed over there with his family for 6 months, overseeing this state-of-the-art Formula One TP52, Ichiban. Patrick Boutellier, the General Manager of Rolex Australia, presenting the Yachtmaster timepiece. And Matt, you've been waiting a long time for this. He's 28 Sydney Hobart. He's finally done it. Matt Allen and Ichiban. He was sitting in the Derwent last year for hours on hours in first place on handicap, but it was snatched away. And Matt, as President of Australian Sailing, a member of the Australian Olympic Committee, probably appropriate that you say a few words now to our gathering here. But please welcome Matt Allen, skipper and owner of Ichiban.
Well, thanks very much, Gordon. And you can probably hear it in my voice. It's been a long couple of days, but it's been an amazing few days for really the whole crew, and only a portion of them are here. It's been an incredible race, as we all know, as sailors. What an experience to come down the coast at the speeds that we could have only barely imagined some years ago. I first came down to Hobart to watch the finish, actually, in 1976, 41 years ago. I came down with my grandfather, who was the superintendent of the Launceston General Hospital. I immediately got a passion for this race. Joining me in those years was Pete Inchbold, who's been sailing on Maluka in recent years and sailed with Hicko in that great victory on the Wild Rose in 2014. And I think both Pete and I caught the bug, and the bug is sort of still in the system, 41 years later. So much has changed over those 41 years. The boats have changed. Thank goodness they have. They're a lot more fun to sail than they used to be. Constitution docks changed. You used to be able to walk from one side of the dock to the other, going by boat to boat to boat. So a lot of things have changed, but there's one thing that really hasn't changed at all, and that is the people and the great people and the camaraderie that you get along the way. I've met virtually all of my best friends in my life through this race and this sport. And with all the great memories of the original win, and there's a few people in the room that were with me with Lou Abraham's boat in 1983, including the Ox and Huey Halliburton, and we remember those parties and the people that sailed with us so well in that year. I really wanted to sort of thank a number of people. Firstly, my crew. They did an incredible job. We were being pushed to the limit by a number of boats, but I'd like to especially mention the great sailing by TK and the boys on Patrice, and by Bobby Steele, Greenie, and everyone on the Mighty Quest. They did a great job. Those guys pushed so hard, it meant that we had to push, incredibly hard and cross our fingers to see what would happen. And can I just say that my crew rose to the occasion. I've never seen a bunch of people work so hard for the boat and so hard for each other. It was an absolute delight to see. I'd also like to thank my sponsors. And by that, I mean my family. They've supported me for so many years. And can I just say that I know it's a lot of preparation work to do each and every year's Rolex Sydney to Hobart race. There's crew, there's boat preparation, there's paperwork. It's an amazing amount of work to get to the start line. And being a boat owner, I know I delegate a lot of work, especially to Tim and Dav and Sean and others. But can I just ask you to put your hands together for the boat owners that make this race possible, because without any boat owners, there would be no race. Patrick, can I thank you very much? Patrick and I are very good friends, but also I'm very good friends with a lot of people at Rolex, both in the UK but especially in Geneva, and they're very dear friends. We talk to them very often. They've sent me a lot of congratulations, and please pass on my thanks to everyone back in Geneva, and thanks for our friendship too, Patrick, and your support of this great race. To the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia and the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania, I think over the years that I've been involved in this race, my first race was in 1980. It was a great race then. It's a greater race today, and I'm sure it's going to continue to build on into the future. And thank you to both yacht clubs, the volunteers, the staff, the volunteer boards, and can I also point out especially to the Sailing Office of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and led by Justine, and everyone else. You've done a great job, and it's been a pleasure to deal with you all. Thank you. When we finished this race, we sat down in amazement when we looked at the history of the race and realised that the race record that for conventionally ballasted boats, which is essentially the race record that dates back to 1945 and has had many people or many boats improve it over the years, including Hellsul, Morning Glory, the mighty run from Kealoha, and by George Snow's Brindabella in 1999. And we sat there in amazement when we'd actually realised that we'd actually beaten that record in a 52-footer and beaten it and sailed at an average speed of close to 16 knots in a 52-footer in amazing conditions, obviously, and smashed that record that had been stood since 1999, and it was quite a reflective moment for us all that now we're part of that race record history. There has been a couple of questions or rumours about my future involvement, and I'd just like to clarify that the Rolex Sydney to Hobart race is in my DNA, and we're going to keep coming back, don't you worry about that, and we can't wait to see you all, maybe not all the Clippers, but just about everyone else hopefully in the room for the 74th Rolex Sydney to Hobart race. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think I can see the Clipper crews are getting very thirsty. But I think we all agree this has been an incredible finish to this great race, the 73rd edition of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, with all the drama of the line honours, but the magnificent turnout of the spectators, the wonderful organisation at this end of the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania and the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. It has been very special. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it, and that's been topped off by the wonderful, colourful presence of our Clipper fleet, and we're looking forward to welcoming them back in 2 years' time. Before we farewell Her Excellency the Governor and the Vice-Regal Party, we're now going to reflect on some of the amazing and dramatic events that we've witnessed since Boxing Day 2017. Please enjoy some of the highlights of our great race this year. How good was that? And what about a marriage proposal when you arrive at the dock? Jeff Beauchamp, the mainsail trimmer and helmsman, proposed to Paula Dredge, and she accepted, from Patrice. So captured on film, but I think we finish on a high, don't we? Wow. Would you now all please be upstanding for the departure of Her Excellency, the Governor of Tasmania, Professor Kate Warner AM, and the Vice-Regal Party. And we thank them all for their warmth and their presentations and their fantastic involvement in the Rolex Sydney Hobart for 2017. I'm pretty sure the Vice-Regal Party are heading over to the Rolex Village. That sounds like a good spot to gravitate towards. But we do thank the Governor and the VIPs. Well, you could hear a pin drop. We can relax. It's time to party. It's time to party. Happy New Year, everyone. Safe journeys to your destinations. And let's have a great 2017 and 2018 to come. And we'll see you back in Hobart next year, hopefully. And good luck to the Clipper Yachts. Halfway there. Well done.